Hello everyone, it is Friday night and it is Weekender time once again. On this week's show we kick things off with an indie of the week that's very orky, which is only right and proper for October after all. On top of that, one lucky subscriber will be in with a chance to win a copy of the Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol Orks. Who'd have thunk it? Just in time for October. To be in with a chance to win, you need to be a subscriber to the channel, pop a comment below, and if you can ding Warren's dong and give us a like, that also is really helpful. Otherwise, sit back and relax because your weekend starts here. Hello everybody and welcome to the Weekender. I'm joined this week by Brother Lloyd, the delightful Benjamino, and the delicious Justin. Lick his head for luck.
Delicious now?
Lick his head for luck. He's like a Buddha. Rub his tummy for good wealth. Lick his head for luck.
I don't have a tummy.
Oh, well, in that case, nobody's getting good health off you. We are back for another frantic week of tabletop gaming goodness. Before we kick into the show, we've been very busy and will be very busy for some time. We've got guests coming left, right and centre at us, coming at us like Cleopatra.
Yeah, we got a whole load of stuff on the schedule. People haven't even arrived yet, but we have a lot of stuff planned.
Oh, we have so much planned between now and the end of the year, so keep your eyes out for some stuff for Corvus Belli, who were over with doing the War Crew stuff, which was amazing.
Isn't there a page or something up about that for anybody who's interested in War Crew as well?
I sat down with and did a little interview with her about the upcoming Kickstarter, so they can go watch that. And then there's also a sign up for the Kickstarter itself, which is linked on that, I believe. Yes.
Yep.
And if Ben's very kind and very generous, it might be in the post below.
We'll see.
Yeah.
No, it will be there.
Depends how people are feeling. And then hot on the heels of that, barely have time to cool down. We'll be diving into dystopian wars. Literally diving. Dive. So there'll be a whole host of videos, gameplay, bits and bobs. I believe Chris is coming over from War Cradle Studios to show us how not to play the game incorrectly. So well done, Chris. Thanks for that.
I do believe he's in Germany at the moment. So
anybody who saves me having to read a book is always welcome. Always welcome.
So the talking dictionary.
You're right though, Justin. A whole bunch of people have gone to Germany for Spain.
Yeah,
so isn't that this weekend?
It's
this weekend.
Started,
it's happening as you're watching this, probably.
Yes.
So,
already started. So a lot of stuff. I imagine next week will be full of all the information from Essen that people have garnered over the last weekend's worth of news. And then later on, Osprey are going full hog into Stalingrad and the Eastern Front for Undaunted.
It's very daunting, the amount of stuff we're doing.
Hey.
There we go.
Punny, very punny. So later on this year we'll have a week where we're just taking a look at Undaunted and all the various aspects of Undaunted, because
such a bloody awesome game. So.
They're not resting on their laurels. So that's Eastern Front, Western Front, North Africa, and I believe they even announced recently that there's more to come in the new year as they
teased Battle of Britain. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
So hopefully we'll find out a bit more from Osprey about what they're planning there. But keep your eye out over the coming weeks for a ton of content from those, as well as all the other stuff.
Exactly.
Love.
So if you're saving your electricity, save it to watch us.
See, what they do is if you're watching on a phone, you get one of those little 10,000, like whatever thingamabobby's battery, and charge that up and just put on it OTT, and that's your power for OnTableTop. Start rationing by a battery pack.
Yeah,
that's an interesting way of doing things. I'm having flashbacks to the blackouts of my youth. I imagine it won't be long before we see those anyway. But
painting by candlelight, that'll be the next jerry can.
So, I mean, there are some pubs.
Yeah.
My dad took the back off our TV whenever I was a kid, because they used to, listen, young'uns, there were rolling blackouts whenever I was a lad. At one point, and he wired a car battery to the television. So the entire street was cooking by gas and looking by candlelight, and we still had the telly running. I don't know what it says about us, but
amazing.
I just remember when TVs had a coin slot in the back.
Oh, wow. Stick another shilling in. Stick a shilling in the telly.
Yeah. You want to watch Button Moon? That's going to be a pouncer.
Shocking stuff. Right. Enough of this gay banter. Shall we kick things off proper with the Indie of the Week?
Yes.
The Indie of the Week. Because it's
something new.
It's a bit orky.
It is. We've got to get orky and crazy because it's October.
It's cramping time.
Yeah.
Cockney geezers.
If you've watched any of the Warhammer TV Let's Plays over the last little while, they have been going hard on the Orc accents. So, there's plenty of stuff out there to get properly in there on the whole Cockney geezer thing. But yes, I chose it this week because I was sort of poodling around the internet, as I am wont to do, and I found a chap called Mr Modulork. Who's been doing some very fun stuff, and we'll look at it in a little bit more detail later as well. But they've also released, because it's Orktober, a game which is called Modulorka. Can you see what they did there?
I see exactly what they've done.
Gorkamorka, Modulorka.
I can read English words.
So this has been designed as an Orks versus Orks skirmish combat game that is sort of like a collection of small miniatures that you can play around with. So you got probably war gangs of between like sort of 5 and 10 miniatures per side, or 10 in my case, as I made a little Goblin one is a little bit of a test, which is kind of cool. Nice. And you will battle it out for supremacy on an orc-filled planet, a little bit like the old school Gorkamorka. You can play it at very small level, with a handful of models per side, or you can take it right up to big games as well if you really want to. They've put a whole bunch of stuff in there for you to dive in and have fun with. I should mention that everything we're going to be looking at here at the moment, at least when it comes to the rules side of things, and maybe 1 or 2 models and bits and pieces, are utterly free. So if there is no reason whatsoever, if you're an Orc player, not to dive in, pick up the rules, have a look at it, and see what you think of the game, downloaded it, have some fun.
By Gorka's Chopper, what a savings.
Yeah. And there's no reason not to unless you're wrong and don't like orcs.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah. But who doesn't like orcs? You'd all be mad.
That's why I said they're wrong.
Yeah, of course, yeah. But anyway, so we'll dive into the game itself, just have a little bit of a chat about it. So, as I say, it's a squad-based game where you're going to have a small war gang of troops. So you've got between like 5 and 10 models per side, as I was saying. And the actual basic mechanics of the game are pretty simple and easy to dive into. Everything's done using D6s, and each of your different characters within a war gang will have like a little unit card and stuff that they'll be able to use, which represents all of their stats and all that kind of stuff when you're playing the game. The actual rulebook itself is only around 30 pages, so 26 pages, but the actual rules themselves are condensed to maybe about 2 or 3. It's got a very, very simple way of sort of rolling damage and all that kind of stuff, because obviously there's a lot of shooting and there's a lot of crumping, as they say, or clobbering in the game. So you've got melee and shooting, all that kind of good stuff. Each of the different characters will have their own little score, which represents how good they are at shooting or clobbering and that kind of stuff. And then you'll compare that on a little tiny table to determine what roll you need on a D6 in order to hit something. There is a little bit of sort of like chopping and changing here and there when it comes to rolling for shooting someone or hitting someone based on either a sort of like an opposed score when it comes to clobbering. Again, very similar to sort of old Games Workshop rules. Or when it comes to aiming, you'll be basically determining how in cover an enemy is or something like that. So it'll go up or down either way. Very, very simple, very, very easy to do. When you hit somebody with an attack, you'll see that they have all the different characters have got armor values and that kind of stuff. You'll compare that against a damage value from one of the weapons, and you'll just do health to them. You can see the little HP on their unit cards, as you see there. And when an orc goes down, they're out of action, and that's the way you play, basically. Nice and simple. Although one of the fun things about this game is that if you're down and out and you've been knocked to the floor because you've lost all your HP, your leader can sort of kick you and get you back up to fight once again, which I think is really cool because it's like, don't go down. You need to keep fighting. You need to keep cramping, which I think is very fun. So, yes. It's been designed.
Are you actually dead, or are you just playing possum?
Are you just playing possum, basically?
A toe to the ribs will solve that problem.
The other really fun thing about the game is that they've put in sort of like lots of different actions that you can do. So there's obviously the shooting and the clobbering, which is always fun. But every model will have like an ability they can do. So this might be like additional charge range that they can use. Overwatch, for example, with the different warbands and things. And each of those will allow you to kind of do something extra on your turn. That'll sort of add to your sort of your gameplay and kind of make all the different warbands feel unique. So they've actually designed, I think
he's got Warren's painting glasses on with the little lights.
He does, yeah.
Whenever he's down in amongst the goblins in an engine, he needs to see.
Exactly. So I'm just going to look at so there's 1, 2, 3. There's 6 different factions that they've designed so far. Each of them normally has like orcs, then gobbos, and then a leader. And then in many cases, they've also designed like a special character as well that you can use alongside them, which I think is really fun. So there's a whole bunch of different options in there for you to play around with. I like that. So they have said
table.
Yeah. So the game has been designed at its very sort of like small level to be played on coffee tables and things. So that's where the name comes from, all that kind of stuff. And that brings me on to an interesting thing about how you play the games. So setting up a game is done using lots of different card decks. So what you'll do is you'll flip over like a battlefield one, then you'll flip over a conditions to see what's happening in the game. And then there'll be like an objective one as well. So your missions, as you can see there, in that case, it was an assassination, spelt perfectly, as I might add.
That's how I spell it.
And then you'll have throughout the game event cards that are revealed at the start of every turn and that kind of stuff. And that will chop and change how games are played, which I think is really nice. The game isn't just about killing the opposition. It's all about sort of objectives as well. So you might need to find jewels, or you might need to take out a certain target and all that kind of stuff. And they'll each give different victory points based on sort of what you've got on the table and that kind of thing as well, which is really nice. They've also taken a cue from games like Malifaux, where you kind of have a collection of boys in your sort of your war gang, as it were, but then you'll see the points value of the mission when you set up to play. So it might be like, this one's now like a 42-point game or a 24-point game. And then you'll be like, right, so I'm going to take these orcs. That'll give me my warband, and then I'll use them on the tabletop, which I think is really nice. Because it means that you're kind of always adapting to what's happening. And it means that you can build a huge army of orcs with lots of different weapons and all that kind of stuff, and then sort of pick and choose what you need from that. So it allows you to play small games, big games, and all that kind of stuff as well. Another nice thing about the game is you've got like each of the different war gear cards has special abilities and stuff as well. So as you can see here, that's a machine gun. So it has its damage and its carry weight and all that kind of stuff, and its special abilities that it does. But a lot of the sort of super weapons also have ammo qualities to them as well. So if you're using, like, for example, as you saw there, like a Gatling gun, that will have like, it can shoot normally, sort of like basically most of the time, but then it'll have like a big ability that can be used maybe once or twice during a game. So it means that even if you've took like a really super awesome mega warrior with loads of wicked weapons and abilities and accessories and that kind of thing, they're not going to be able to use their stuff all the time. So it kind of evens out the playing field, which I think is quite nice. My warband that I made was like a grot catcher guy, and then basically all of the grots. So it was just this horribly fragile army, because one of the fun things that the gobbos actually have like a rule, but I think it's actually called fragile, whereas normally when an orc goes down, they have the chance to come back up because the boss kicks them and they sort of stand up and keep fighting.
Makes sense.
Goblins, when they go down, you roll a dice on a 4+, they survive. If you don't get that, they're just out because they've just been vaporized into like little tiny pieces and all that.
So then I'm getting waves of like the child catcher from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, just you sitting on top of the horse and cart, just going lollipops.
Basically, yes.
so you're saying 10 is your warband. So this is perfectly good for it. So anybody who has like a kill team warband for their orcs can just slot into this, can they?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
buy a basic set of boys.
Yeah, you could buy just a box of boys. You could buy the Kill Team that came out in the sort of revamped version of Kill Team and stuff, and have fun with those Commandos models. They'd be perfect for this.
Do they have cards that marry up to the weapons that the guys in the Kill Team set carry?
Because the game is very much designed around the idea that this is sort of Games Workshop adjacent in a way. Obviously, it's not. But a lot of the weapons there match up very well to the Warhammer 40K weapons. So there is things like a big ram, which mirrors the ones from the Kill Team set. There's like flamers and all that kind of thing as well. So yeah, you can kind of marry things up quite nicely. Yeah. The other thing that's quite nice, the other thing that's really cool about it is that they have matched this to some stuff that we'll look at when we get to our 3D printing section. Yeah. So there's lots of nice things for you to 3D print your models and then just use them alongside this game and that kind of stuff.
And how large is the main rulebook?
So the main rulebook's like 26 pages.
26 pages.
Is this it? Can you show that whole page layout there?
Yes. Give me 1 second.
Because I'm just looking at it, I just want to see what it looks like from the whole page layout, because
it's great.
Because we're looking at this, I'm looking at going, this looks a lot better than most paid for games.
Yes, it does.
They've put the work in.
Yeah, very much so. The last 4 pages are like solo and AI rules. Mm-hmm. So if you want to play by yourself against a warband, they've put in AI and solo rules with also a selection of warbands that you can fight against during your games. And each of them has been given like an easy, medium, and hard level. So if you want to test yourself against the hardest warband, you can do that. If you want to try against an easy one, you can do that. I think it's really nice. There's also this kind of quick start rules, which have been designed as sort of like
it's a quick reference sheet, really.
It's a quick reference sheet, basically. So you have this by the side of you, and it covers everything, really. Now, that's the thing that I think a lot of people will be like, what the hell? There's like a states page. It's not as daunting as you think. Most of the time, maybe like 2 or 3 of these will come up. Like stunned and downed and all that kind of thing. Yeah. But it's mostly just to cover the different ways that your orcs can be sort of damaged and that kind of thing as well. It's not too complicated at all.
No, I'm okay with this because it's on a cheat sheet. I'm not flicking back and forth through a rulebook. I'm sorry, that pet peeve.
Yeah. I will also say as well, I did mention Gorkamorka earlier, and obviously one of the big things about Gorkamorka was that you could throw vehicles into the mix. And you can actually do that in this as well. So Modulorka has vehicle rules. So if you want to play one of the bigger games, which I think gets up to like 64 points, vehicles obviously come in with a larger premium, obviously, and you obviously get a larger player space, but then you can play around with vehicles and ramming attacks and all that kind of stuff. And you can kit bash your vehicles in different ways and have your normal games there as well, which I think is really cool.
So it's not limited to 10 orcs then aside?
No, you can go up as high as you want, really. But basically, they say in the rules description, you can play as big a game as you like. It'll obviously just take longer. So
is it 28 mil?
It's all 20. Well, it's 28 mil in so much as it's heroic 28 mil. All of the miniatures that you get from Mr Modulork are like 32, so they're a little bit bigger. But that's basically the size of one 40,000 now.
I've seen on the stack cards there was like 32 mil and things like that.
Yeah, it was the base size.
Particular base sizes.
Yeah. Yes.
So it has
a bunch of stuff.
Base sizing scheme to it then, does it?
Yeah, it's mainly just for the sense of fairness, really. So that if you have a lot of different orcs from different companies, so maybe Kromlech or Max Minis or whatever, you can sort of bring them together and be like, so all the base sizes match up nicely for everyone.
That also stops somebody taking several 40 mil based warlords, having them on 25s. And
why are they so good?
Having a death ball of them just,
Yeah, well, if multiple can get round you and kick your toys in, then they will. So that prevents that. I
was going to say, if you've got the unit cards up, Jerry, and scroll down like further through, you'll find some of the special characters. They've got some very fun ones in there. Because I think that's one of that. So the nice thing about this is that you can kind of just play it as like one-off games, which I think is really cool. So you could use this to kind of play fun games between playing something like 40k or one-page rules. Like, here we go, here's some of the special characters. But then you could throw in some of these big boys and do like a really fun campaign with them. This is where I was very much inspired to do the whole kind of like Gob Master style thing.
I thought this was the one you used.
So obviously these guys come with passive and active abilities that they can use and all that kind of stuff as well, which is really nice. And lots of special rules. Obviously these special characters come at a premium and that kind of thing, but it's really fun. And they
just leave the gasoline.
Exactly.
You can leave with your lives.
Why has he not got a tiny goblin version with him?
Yes. But yeah, so I think each of the different warbands, so there's obviously there's 6 of them. I think each of them has 1 or sometimes 2 special characters. There you go. So there's another one of them that all can be used to sort of represent them. And I really like it because they've managed to make. Because a game with lots and lots of orcs in it can sometimes feel like, oh, well, we're just orcs versus orcs. But I think they've done a really good job of making everyone feel very different warband-wise, which I think is really nice and kind of calls back to the old plans of 40k, really. So
weirdly, it's where Gorkamorka fell down. Everything was an orc. even the humans were orcs,
Right.
and there was no depth of differentiation between them, really. So you didn't have the clan structure, which obviously is what makes the orcs interesting in 40k. So actually leaning into that and having very specific sort of defined orcs is probably the way to go to stop it feeling sort of samey.
Yeah. But no, it seems like a really fun game, and as I say, for free, there's no reason not to check it out, I would say.
And if you have some boys kicking about, just go ahead and play.
Yeah, exactly.
Where do we go to get them?
So you can either download it from their website. They have a couple of mirror options. So you can go to that Google Drive that we were looking at the beginning. That allows you to just download everything from the Google Drive. So you can get all of the sort of book and the cards and everything, as well as the STL files from there, if you like.
So modulorka.com then?
Yeah. So you can go to modulorka.com and it'll have all the different links there. So as I say, there's the this one, which is the Google Drive link, which has everything anyway. And if Jerry just clicks back onto that Modulorka release thing on the Google Drive, you'll see it's got the STL files there as well. But so you can get all of those. There we go.
STL files and some models as well.
We'll talk about those later. That's going to be a surprise for later. Okay.
Surprise! Here's everything.
But in addition to that, you can also go to My Mini Factory and also Cult 3D. So if you prefer using those systems in order to get a hold of all your different miniatures, you can get the stuff from there as well. I'll obviously, we'll just talk about that in a little bit of detail. So you got the essentials pack over on those pages, and that comes with the rules or the cards and things. So you probably want to get those either professionally printed by somebody so that you can have a nice book and some nice, lovely cards on nice stock and that kind of thing. But you also get some terrain elements and some measures, some dice, some tokens, and all that kind of thing. And there's a couple of different free miniatures in there as well.
Do you have to mark anything on the cards?
You don't have to mark anything on the cards. No, you just use tokens.
I can just load them up on my phone as pictures and just flick back and forth between them.
You could do that if you prefer, easily, yeah. Because you just use tokens on the different miniatures to mark their wounds.
Switching there, going, what technology? What? No, why?
Yeah, so that's what's in the essentials pack, as you can see. So you've got the objective markers, the the terrain bits, all the different tokens that you can use. There's even a dice that you can print off if you really want to, because that will be totally legit.
It's a very orky movement widget there as well.
Yes, I like it. Yeah. So yeah, and you get a little free miniature as well, which is quite nice. So yeah, it's a fun little set. As I say, it's utterly free. So if you have a 3D printer and you have a printer, one of those old-fashioned ones that prints out things on paper, then you can get stuck in and start playing some Modulorka on the tabletop.
How old-fashioned though? Like a dot matrix?
Oh yeah, I was thinking dot matrix.
I have one of those.
Would that accept the files?
I imagine Jerry probably still has one of those hooked up somewhere.
I've still got my dot matrix hooked up to my Spectrum 48.
Told you.
I just have to print everything in very thin strips, stick it together. Right.
But yeah, there you go. Modulorka. Make sure to give it a go. A perfect way to set off, Orktober, get stuck in, have some fun, especially if you're an Orc army owner already. There we go.
Very good indeed. We shall take a quick swish, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at the news and starting with more orcs, I think, Ben.
Coming to you from the center of Northwestern Europe. Covering board games, war games, card games, and all that you love. It's the news.
All right, we are back with the news, and because it's October, more orcs, Ben.
Hey,
where are we starting?
Lads. So we're starting off with the lovely folks over at Kromlech, who always do something amazing for Orktober, and this year it's no different. So they have released what they've called their Orc Corsairs, which are going to be stomping across battlefields in no time at all. They are led by Warlord Death Cruiser, as you can see there.
What has he stuffed in that cannon?
He has stuffed everything in that cannon. It is filled with weapons and also what appears to be a monster, which I think is great. So as soon as it hits your opponent, they'll be taken out by all the bits and pieces, and then a monster will rip your face off as well, which is always fun. So,
fun times.
But yeah, an amazing big new miniature to lead the way. This is actually one of their big resin pieces that you can pick up. So if you were looking for a sort of like an alternative to having someone like Gazgul in your army, then I think that Warlord Death Cruiser would be a pretty fine addition to your collection. And he's got a lovely beard as well.
It does have
Does he have a pipe?
Lovely, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He does have a pipe because he's a pirate. a pirate.
Please don't.
There we go. I just like that he has an anchor as a weapon as well. I think that's great. Fantastic. So,
better than a power claw.
Better than a power claw. We also then have a selection of sort of squads that you can pick up as well. So there's the captain's team and the Storm Riders team. Both of these sets are available as you see them here. So you basically get all the components in one big set.
How
so
lazy
you can build yourself some squads.
Is that guy in the middle? Now go back up. How lazy is he? Scroll down.
Oh,
Look at that guy. He's got a bloody wheel on his gun. How lazy is he wheeling his gun around?
I mean,
he's heavy.
Yeah, he has to be able to cut and slash, and so the wheelie bit just
exactly.
lets him.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
He can't be cut less, and he needs his cut less.
Oh my god!
So there we go. So
he needs to cut more with his cut less.
Yeah. We have the two teams, the captain's team and the Storm Riders. So you've effectively got your gunners that would be on your ship shooting at the opponent, and then you have the boarding action crew that's going to be leaping over to take all the loot and beat up the opposing orcs on their vehicles as you zoom around the landscape, looking very nice indeed. As I say, both these sets come with all the components in one pack if you want them, or you can go over to their web store and buy all of the individual components, so the weapons, the bodies, the heads, and all that kind of lovely stuff separately if you want to just add it to any of your existing plastic and resin orcs from different companies. One of the sort of big models from the set, the piece de resistance, I suppose, is this very cool battle rig. Now, yes, that is a hefty price tag, but that is because that's all lovely resin.
Massive chunk of resin.
So this the garrote tied to them.
Yes, I like to think that he's either there as a grotty battery to power that thing on the front, or this has been done as some kind of sort of punishment for stealing something from the captain's quarters, or maybe both, I guess.
Your captain is, very Pirates of the Caribbean, Davy Jones up top.
Yes.
There's your captain at the back. This is obviously some form of weird boy who's making sure that the thing moves forward.
I really love what
he is your sail on this boat.
What I really liked about that is that he's put a mask on that makes him look like a Jolly Roger skull mask, and then obviously you've got that on the crow's nest as well. So he's kind of like booga 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 on the top. Don't worry, the old pirates are coming.
That is exactly how they sound.
Yeah, ooga booga booga booga.
There's cannonballs on the back deck, but I don't see any cannons.
I don't think they throw them at people.
You just chuck them. Anybody who's attempting to get on, you just drop them as you drive past.
But it's got like their cool sort of harpoon gun as well, so they can sort of drive forward.
There's your cannon there.
There's a cannon there.
There's a cannon. There you go.
It must be a chute. They drop them down.
It just runs through.
Yeah, you just roll it through the hole and let it go.
It's like a marble run.
Gravity is our power.
Yeah, but an amazing piece, as you can see, absolutely wonderfully detailed. A very nice big bit of resin from the folks at Kromlech. Keeping with the theme of vehicles, there's also two flyers as well. So these are a mix of their HDF and also resin. So HDF is used for the majority of the body and that kind of thing. And then all the resin pieces are sort of like the engines and the guns and that kind of stuff that gets bolted onto the side. So it's a pretty nice kit. You've got the Stormjet Fighter and the Boom Fighter Bomber, because of course you need to have all the as in there. And they have done a good job of creating some really fun sort of support vehicles for your orc armies on the tabletop. They've even introduced that fun captain model from back in the day as well, back on the top. Which
the first one's very surprising for an HDF.
For an HDF, I'm thinking the same thing.
Yeah, although I do love the little grot spotter on the wing.
Yes, he is very cool. I like to think that maybe he thinks he's the safest of all, when in actual fact he's probably going to go flying at a moment's notice.
Clearly, if you're going to shoot the plane, you're going to shoot the main body. So true,
very true. Yeah.
Well, I built their big Death Stomper,
the Death Stomper,
which is similar wood and resin, and it feels more like this. That the curves they've managed to get in there are insanely good. I wonder if they've started to do, that flexible, they cut into the back. So it's like, the
gullies.
You get multiple gullies so that you can then curl it around a substructure.
Maybe, or it might be, the thin cardstock you see sometimes that the laser company folks use.
Yeah, but yeah, very cool. Sticking with big kits as well, there's also one of their larger terrain pieces as well. So this is the Orktober zone. So if you wanted to make your sort of Tortuga of the orc world, then you can do that. This is basically everything you'd need to make an orc fortress, really. Maybe if you were playing Modulorka, you could pick up one of these sets and use it as all of the terrain that you want to be using in that game, perhaps. Or some kill team or something like that.
The weird thing about orc terrain is that you do look at it and go, maybe I should just make that myself, that particular
Oh, yeah, you could do it out of stuff that you've got in the cupboard, but yeah. But if you're lazy and you don't want to get together a bunch of stuff, a bunch of junk from your kitchen, then you can also pick up the HDF stuff if you prefer.
That's it. Or you've got a wife like mine who sneaks into the room and throws my stuff out.
Well, how dare she?
What were you hoarding?
Your hobby trash.
Yeah.
Your hobby trash. How many loo rolls have I thrown out over the years? Oh, yeah, too many.
It should also be noted that over on their web store, they've also got a section of their additional stuff as well. I have no idea. It's probably because there's something that needs to be pressed somewhere that's like an accepting thing or something. Who knows?
Give that page a refresh.
That could
do this.
But yeah, so in addition to all of the miniatures that we've seen there and the vehicles and the terrain, they've also got a bust that they've worked on, which is kind of cool. As well as a bunch of additional accessories like beanies, dice trays, hip flasks, and hoodies, and all that kind of stuff. So,
I'm digging the hoodie. I want the hoodie.
Yeah. So if
for a moment there, I was saying, who the heck needs a hoodie for Orktober?
And then Justin strides into the ring. Yeah.
Well, I like hoodies.
It is very cool.
Sounds like that.
Oh, yeah. I think it's really cool. And the other thing as well is that it's not, I mean, obviously it's orky themed, but for the vast majority of the populace, they're not going to know what that means. So it kind of is like a cool metal style t-shirt as well at the same time, which is always nice. So yeah, you've got the bust and all the other bits and pieces, which is very cool. So yeah.
Many pages.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah. And here you can see obviously the breakdown of different things. So you've got the weapons.
You get all the bits.
Yep. So all the different bits, all the different weapons. So if you already own some plastic kits from Games Workshop or from Kromlech themselves, then you can dive in and pick all these up and make a very cool themed warband on the tabletop. So yeah, very nice.
Yeah, and I have to stand just like that.
Badass.
I have to stand just like that when I'm wearing it.
All the time. It's the only way you're allowed to stand. Can't move around. It's built with wooden slats in there. So
oh yeah. And as soon as I go through a door, it's like, okay,
So there we go. Yeah, some amazing orky stuff there that would be perfect for anybody looking to celebrate Orktober. And it's well worth diving into the rest of the Kromlech range as well, because they do just genuinely awesome things, especially when it comes to orcs. So there we go.
You should be well practiced at that, though, Justin. Being like a carpenter, you should be well practiced and stand around with your hands on your hips.
No, hang on. I was the apprentice. I never got to management.
Okay.
Shocking stuff.
And actually, Lloyd, that's 12 years ago now.
Wow.
Yeah, but I'm like an elephant.
I've been doing this gig twice as long as I was doing that gig.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Can't call you a carpenter anymore.
No.
Right. Moving on before the carpenters get out of hand. Mantic have launched a new range for RPG players who fancy doing things incorrectly. So what they've been doing is putting together a whole slew of things to help people who are just getting into sort of running their own adventures as a sort of a one-stop shop. So you can pick up something like the Dungeon Adventure set, of which they have 2 so far. Necromancer's Lair and Wizard's Tower.
I like that art. That's real nice.
Yeah, it's a white.
Are they still
absolutely filth?
Are they still doing their kits in the old VHS tape boxes?
No. Not for about 7 years.
I still have some of those in my cupboard. So
that was just a big lump of VHS boxes that Ronnie found from China one time, probably.
Yes.
Yeah, it's just like, well, these are cheap and I can pack minis in that.
It sounds like a great idea. Unfortunately, they weren't like VHS boxes, but they still work nevertheless. Anyway, that aside, regardless of 6-year-old packaging that's no longer used, what they've been working on is reusing some of the lines that they've already produced and adding to it as well. So you can see here a Critters box that contains mimics,
Yep.
Giant scorpions, spiders, rats, bat swarms, vultures, ravens, and even some sort of Komodo dragon-esque fellow.
Oh, Gila monster.
Yeah. And my favorite, the danger noodles, just a writhing pit coming at you. They are really nice. It's a really nice set.
And then the most terrifying of all, worms.
Those are scarabs and worms. Yeah. So sort of things you would find whenever you dig up somebody in a necromancer's lair.
I don't know. I'm always scared of worms.
It's because you've seen that film, Worm?
No, it's because I've heard that story from David Attenborough where he went to the toilet and pulled one out of himself.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't that actually in Buckingham Palace?
Yeah, he was going to go meet the Queen. He pulled a worm out of himself before he went in.
It's interesting. I'll give you that. Very interesting. Anyway, I
love that. That's
the range
cool.
they're putting together, I like it as well. The range they're putting together is a mix of stuff that they've produced already for things like Dungeon Saga, League of Infamy, Terrain Crate, and even Hellboy, which is where that Dagron comes from, the big box of doom from the expansion. Which means if you've looked at things in the past and went, that would make a really good character model, then you can lay your hands on these without having to buy a whole expansion for a game that you don't play. It also gives them a bit more life. So, for example, the Slavic-looking undead that you looked up a long time ago, Lloyd, from Hellboy, they've come out separately, the Dungeon Saga pack. So if you're after sort of demons or orcs or undead or whatever it happens to be, you can buy these little bundles and they contain a host of pre-colored and generally one piece or pre-assembled.
They are very reasonably priced as well.
Yeah.
I've got to say. So
it means you can get your hands on, zombie trolls, zombies, armored zombies, ghosts, skellybobs, and even little dwarven revenants if you need a sort of a boss for an end level. But also the more recent stuff, the likes of the Wandering Beasts, which came from the League of Infamy, or the Dungeon Villains set, again, League of Infamy. If you're not after the League of Infamy game, although it's a cracking little game, so it's well worth a punt, but you can pick these up to be sort of villains. So you've got your standard orcs and your necromancers and your evil goblin with his dog. There's even a pirate ogre at the back there.
And Naiad as well.
And a filthy Naiad and a fallen priestess of Basileia. So they've been putting together these sets, and the plan is to combine them with the dungeon adventures, which are generic RPG adventures. They're not tied to any system, so you can essentially use them with whatever you're playing. And then they've got a book, a big double-sided map, and then all the scenery for that particular adventure. So this uses the Terrain Crate pieces. So if there's a trapdoor in one place, or if there's a wizard's office with all his alchemical tables and bookshelves and that sort of thing, you can have those in there. Like I say, if you fancy playing your RPGs incorrectly.
That's cool, though. I really like that idea. Yeah.
I am a fan of what they've done. And making the bits and pieces more accessible to people, because you often see a lot of the stuff, especially the Dungeon Saga packs and things like that. You're going, well, those are really good just for generic wandering monsters. I use mine for Frostgrave a lot because it saves me having to paint a ton of stuff up. I can just go right ahead and grab a big box of pre-colored, whatever it happens to be, demons, undead, orcs, things that I may come up against. And so they're always handy to have if you're into your RPGs and you like that style of RPG where you do play on maps and with miniatures, which I know a lot of people do. It's another good way of getting additional content, which is especially handy if you're a new GM. Now, I think the first two that are out, they've been play tested. They're working on more. The writer said if anybody wants to give feedback when they've got them, anything that they want to tweak or change or think would be better, they're always welcome. Feedback's a gift.
Very cool.
That's what they tell me. So it'll be interesting to see what goes next. Like I say, the things that have interested me the most are the little pieces that have sort of crept out that they've been working on, like the critters, because the other things I know about already. I've seen them. It's great seeing, the dragon from Hellboy, or I'm waiting to see the ogre with the electric guitar called Shredding Betty.
It's almost like you really like their stuff.
Yeah. Their games are cracking, and the miniatures run the gamut from cheap and cheerful to really stonkingly good resin stuff. So there's sort of something for everyone. I know not everybody likes the style of some of the work they've done in the past, but to each their own. But it's nice to see them expand into another direction.
I'm generally a fan of pretty much everything Mantic have ever done for any of their board games. I think the quality of a lot of stuff they do for those is sublime, and having those be available in smaller packs for 20 quid or something for a nice handful of miniatures, I think it's really cool, especially with the advent of a lot more people playing skirmish games nowadays as well. So even if you're not using them for role-playing games, you could use them to make a warband of demons or undead or something like that. So very cool.
Oh yeah, I'm getting something like a big one-piece zombie troll with a brick slamming into somebody's
What's
head.
not to like? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to pick that up from in resin from companies, it's going to cost you £12. For 20 quid, you're getting a pre-built one-piece plastic one, and then some of his mates as well.
Yeah.
So things like that, I think, are always good. Or even just buying 2 or 3 of the bags and then using them for Kings of War. Kings of War Ambush. Run all my trips. Right, moving away from the dungeons and onto the Dropfleet, Ben.
Yeah, so TT Combat have now released, pre-orders anyway. I think actually they'll even be available to buy this weekend, a new set of stuff for Dropfleet Commander. So there's going to be a new 2-player starter set for you to dive into, which has been updated by the folks behind the game. So Dave is still working away alongside everyone else, including Andy Chambers, obviously, famous for diving in and creating amazing stuff for Games Workshop, and obviously for TT Combat and a whole bunch of other companies as well. So this is the new Dropfleet Commander 2-player starter set, which comes with the UCM and the Scourge. You get 2 of their resin cruisers. You get plastic cruisers. You get resin cruisers, plastic cruisers, and then a bunch of plastic frigates to go alongside them. So it's been designed so it's a pretty sort of even spread for both the different forces. Obviously, they're the kind of 2 main factions that are going to be doing a lot of the fighting in Dropfleet. So it's a pretty good entry point for those people who want to know a little bit more about the world. You've got the UCM returning to Earth to try and take it back from the deadly Scourge in space rather than on the tabletop. For those people that are not familiar with Dropfleet as a game, it's a big sort of starship battle game. One of the things that's really nice about it is that it's actually played out in sort of low orbit around planets. So the focus is about shooting other ships and blowing them to pieces. Obviously, who wouldn't want to do that? But it's also about getting into a position to land troops on the planet, which then obviously ties into things like Drop Zone Commander and playing that game as well if you really wanted to go down that route. So the starter set comes with all of the models that I previously mentioned, alongside a gaming mat, dice, tokens, rulebook, and everything. And then alongside that, we've also got the release of these cruiser sets as well. So if you wanted to throw these into existing collections, you've got the Titania class cruisers, which you saw for the UCM, the solar cruisers for the Scourge there. And then you've also got the prototype ones for the PHR, my favorites. I do like a little bit of the PHR. It's like it's humanity plus, as I like to say. It's very cool.
No, it's humanity plus Wi-Fi.
Well, yeah, true. There's also the Sheltari Aru cruisers, which are there if you're a bit of a fan of something like the Covenant or something from Halo. These are a pretty cool way to go down things. Also, if you like things like Eldar and that kind of stuff and crystal ships and things. Very nice faction to be painting up. Oh, they are very, very shiny. You're not going to mistake whose ships are who's on the tabletop playing as the Sheltari. They'd be very good to paint with new contrasts and all that kind of speed paint stuff. Very cool.
I'm fairly certain that those Scourge have been color shifted.
They have.
I know the original ones were painted to look like they were color shifted,
but those look like color shifts.
But years before color shift paints were a thing.
Yeah.
So that made life much easier for Scourge players.
Well, there's something that actually just came in this week. We just got Green Stuff World's rattle can color shifts.
Oh.
So I'm very curious to see how they work.
I'll have a link to the store down below for that. That'll be cool to try out. And for those people playing as the plucky underdogs, the resistance, so the remnants are still here, kicking ass and taking names with their Callium cruisers that have been built out of whatever they could find, basically.
This is my faction. This is the one I like.
Yeah, I think they're very cool. I think it's nice to see like a little plucky resistance force from humanity on the planet, sort of fighting back, not just on the ground but in space as well. So
you see, I remember whenever Dropfleet first came out, I actually asked Dave, where's the resistance? Where are the resistance not there? And he was just like, yeah, the resistance aren't there. Sorry, I'm never going to do them. Thanks, Dave.
They drive around on Earth in the back of pickup trucks with rocket launchers.
Yeah.
It's difficult to become a spacefaring nation then.
Well, I mean, I remember whenever their starter fleet came out, the modularity that man built into that box, between your frigates and your cruisers. I think there's like 100,000 variations you can do on the cruisers just for building it different ways.
The fun thing to remember about Dropfleet and Drop Zone Commander, like Drop Zone Commander is their kind of like 10 mil game, right? Everything is perfectly proportioned by scale in Dropfleet to Drop Zone. So you could there's a really nice relativity between the two, which I think is amazing. And obviously one of the things that, Dave is famous for doing with all of his sculpting work and all that kind of stuff and design and that kind of thing. So
you completely lost me there. What do you mean? Are they actually scaled that they would carry the...
No, they're not. You couldn't literally carry them.
Yeah, you
the
couldn't
models
do that. Yeah.
But they have been designed in such a way that when you look at the scale comparisons between the two, they are relative in terms of how big they'd be and that kind of stuff.
Look at the big project that Dave did that one time
where he built
him.
a full scale ship.
He built a 10 mil frigate, so the smallest of the UCM ships.
Yeah, if you want to play that, we'll just take over an entire hall at Salute.
That's one way of doing it. It's an interesting gaming system as well, because Andy Chambers did it sort of like submarine warfare. So the big question about mechanically, how do you do combat in space, because you can see everything in every direction, and he came up with the idea that it's
pings and signatures.
Yeah, it's pings and signatures. So the more you do,
your power output versus their signal strength,
the more you ping on the map, and everybody can see you. And at that point, then other people's weapon ranges start coming into play.
Yeah, and then because it's two expanding bubbles that just have to meet.
Yep. Yeah. So, which is a really interesting dynamic to have for space combat, because generally you're having to go, well, you've got a 12-inch range. You go, well, that doesn't make any sense in an
it's like shooting miles.
Yeah, literally shooting
thousands of miles
until it crashes into another body. It's
going to keep going until it hits something.
Yeah, so I think that's a good thing.
Talking of the rules as well, if you do own a lot of Dropfleet stuff already, which a lot of people do, you can actually just get your hands on the Dropfleet Commander 2022 rulebook as well, which comes with slightly updated rules. So there we go. So yeah, everything you need to dive into some Dropfleet. Very cool indeed.
Sweet. And speaking of updated rules, slightly longer ago, mind you.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, Rebellion, who own 2000 AD and its ilk, and also produce computer games for those kids today with their digitized things. They have a small line called Rebellion Unplugged, where they have produced things like Blockmania.
Hyper Elite.
Yeah. So they're relaunching after a mere 40 years. Ian Livingstone's Judge Dredd, the game of crime fighting in Mega City 1.
And that's its full title, by the way.
That is its full title. It's a fantastically fun little game. I have a friend has it. Haven't played it in a little while. But it's interesting because you play 2 to 6 players. You play out on a big board that is made to look like Mega City 1. And the artwork all comes from 2 classic artists who did the original as well, but they've updated the artwork slightly.
Yeah. So it's Ian Gibson and Brian Bolland. There you go. Or Boland.
Boland. So the idea is you play a judge, and then you randomly determine crimes that are kicking off around Mega City.
Stop crime.
Yeah, so you've got like three small decks. You've got a location deck, a crime deck, and a perpetrator. So you draw the location; it will tell you where it's happening. You draw your perpetrator and set it face down in that area, and then you put the crime on top. So you populate the board with crimes, and then you and your fellow members of the Justice Department have to go out and solve those crimes, bring those people in. So it means you might find somebody's just been scrolling on walls, which is a very low level crime. I think that's easy. And then arrive there to discover it's Judge Death. Just be right, like life is a crime, and he's incredibly difficult to beat. At which point you get your toys kicked in, or you can go to a high level crime, go to a murder or something and find it's like some boingers who are really easy to take out. So the original game itself was really super simple. Now, I seen in the blurb when I ordered my copy that they've streamlined it for faster play, and I'm thinking, how? Because you can't get faster than like 3 cards and a dice roll.
I want to play this.
However, they have gone in and changed a few things. One, the original board has changed. So it was a riot of color, like Block Wars is behind me. It's all the colors. They've made it much easier to spot what's going on. It's the same areas. It's just been tweaked a little. The second thing they've done is they've changed the judges slightly. So the original one, you just played a judge. You had action cards in your hand that could be other judges that were supporting you. So maybe you have a Dredd or an Anderson or something that would add to your combat roll. But instead, they've come up with things like the Waaaagh or Dredd as actual specialist judges that you can play that have slightly different rules. So there's an asymmetric style with a bit more girth behind it than the original had. I imagine if you don't want to play with that, you just play with the standard rules. Although I do like the idea of playing somebody from the Wally squad or whoever it happens to be going about. Also, if you pre-order, you get a bonus 7th one, which is Deputy Judge Fish. So that's always good to have. And I look forward to having it. This, I think, is possibly the biggest change. And it's a really simple one. But as I was saying, it's a very simple game. You have a deck of action cards that everybody gets 6 of them per turn. And the original ones were all this. It's the same art on it, as far as I can tell, and probably the same mechanics. But now they've actually been color-coded, so you can see when you look at your hand of 6, you're not just looking at black and white artwork and going, oh, who's this? You go, well, red is a support, so that's a bonus judge to help me fighting, to bring in the perps, or the alien escape, the tip off, the distraction. So you can see at a glance what's in your hand, which is handy because you can also nobble other judges. When a judge is in an area, they have to try and arrest the perp in the area. So you have a movement phase. Everybody moves to where they want to go. And then you have the arrest phase. So the first person in will try and make an arrest. But if you happen to be in there as well, then you will also have to attempt to make the arrest. And whoever has the higher result actually makes the arrest.
Okay.
So you can, like, somebody's in there trying to deal with that murderer and you nip in at the last minute and go, psych, mine. Oh, I'm a better judge.
This is my collar.
Or if you're not in the area, then, and you've got something like a distraction, then that judge who's in the area who thinks he's about to take on the Angel Gang, and then all of a sudden he discovers that he's trapped in Boeing or he's out of ammo or something, and then the Angel Gang just beat the tar out of him, and he ends up in the infirmary because you never die in the game. You kind of like get pushed back to the infirmary at the hospital, and then you have to come out again. So it slows you down.
Better.
So
that's even better because then you have one player who's constantly getting sent back to the infirmary and can't even leave the game because he's not dead.
Well, it all
this
depends.
Is my life now. I respawn.
It's all about bringing the criminals to justice, and it's while you will almost certainly spend time in there. The rate at which you bring perps in can slow down considerably because you've got that deck of action cards. You've only got 6 in your hand to begin with, and then you're playing through. You only get 1 back a turn, so you could come up against somebody big like Judge Death and throw a lot of cards at it, and then be lagging behind. So while you've got one big bust, or maybe Rico has appeared, and you've gone, oh well, I've lynched him. He's like 20 odd points worth of crime and punishment there.
Yeah,
great.
The rest of the city's going to burn.
The rest of your opponents are just going around going skyboarders, boingers, scrollers, and just picking up lots and lots and lots of little ones and passing your total. So there are ways and means around that in the game as well, but it's fascinating to see it back.
Yeah, it sort of came out of nowhere as well, which was...
Oh, yeah, I'm 100% on board with it.
If you're bringing it up someday, Jerry, let me know. I would love to get this.
Oh, yeah. Oh, definitely. I might even stick on their camera because it's if we can get several people around the board slapping each other around, that's always good, clean family fun. It is a game that you can explain in 5 minutes. I have actually just explained how the game plays. That is the rules are 4 pages long, or at least they used to be. And 1 page of that was the front cover of the rules, which was artwork.
And they say they streamlined it even more.
Yeah, so that's I'm mind blown as to how they could streamline it, unless they just mean they've gone in and color coded the cards.
Or maybe they took away the front cover.
Well, could be that. But yeah, exciting times ahead. It's not It's out for pre-order now. It's not due to be sent to me until later on November.
Mid-November, yeah.
Yeah, but that's okay, because it's just in time for my brother's birthday. At which point I'll go, look what I bought myself.
Happy birthday to me.
Sucks to be you. Right. Moving away from Rebellion and Dredd and into the wintry world of the Bulge.
Yeah, so some new stuff has been lined up by Battlefront Miniatures for Flames of War. It took a little while to get round to the Bulge stuff for the British, but they are finally here in all their glory. So we're going to be getting a new Bulge British book, which has been designed for you to dive in and start playing as your late war Brits during World War II with your 15mm miniatures. The focus here is going to be on a bunch of different sort of historically accurate squadrons and companies and all that kind of stuff as well. You've got a focus towards kind of like Market Garden and that stuff to begin with, and then into the Rhine crossing, and then also some more of the pushes into deeper Germany during the late war and all that kind of stuff as well. In addition, there's also the new campaign set that you see there. So this is a new it's not new. They've done campaigns in the past, but this is a neat little sort of extra pack that comes alongside this. So you and your friends can play out a full campaign using the British and stuff. And as I say, maybe you will take things a bridge too far.
I was going to drop Bridge by Bridge.
There we go.
which is the old name of the British book for this period.
A question. The exploding half track there.
Yes.
Is that a person flying through the air? Away from just on the left hand
or
side.
A soldier running away from it. Yeah. it could be both. But I think it's neat that they're bringing out that little extra something to go alongside the British with the campaigns there, so you can play out kind of everything. And it also works with all of the stuff that's been out before for the Bulge for the Germans and stuff. So
it'd be interesting to see the actual campaign pack, because the last time they did Firestorm, you got map and stickers with it, so you could plot the progress of 30 Core or whoever you happen to be playing as you went through the Firestorm campaign.
I would imagine it will be similar, if not better. But there's also the new, everyone likes miniatures, and so there's a new, otherwise why are you here? There's this new Bulge British starter force that is on the way for Flames of War, which is the Comet Armoured Squadron, which comes with, as you can see, a whole host of tanks. So
it's bulging with tanks.
It is bulging with tanks.
Kangaroos in the back.
Yeah. So there's loads of stuff in there. It's very cool. A lot of people were like, that's a lot of comets. And then everyone was like, shut up. I like comets. so if you're interested in diving in and playing as the British, you've got this as a nice way to begin with that. It should be noted that each of the starter forces don't just come with the miniatures. They also come with like a slimmed down version. Well, it's the full rule book, but in A5.
It's the A5 rule,
and have fun with it.
And you actually get a nice guide on what you should build for this force to get you up and running,
which is always nice to see. In addition to that, throughout the next couple of weeks, so the rest of October and into November, we're also going to be seeing the release of a whole bunch of additional kits in plastic and stuff for Flames of War and the British. We'll go into more detail with these as they come out from week to week. There'll always be a little bit of an update on them in the news and that kind of thing, but this is just a teaser of what awaits you for the British. So if you've been waiting in the wings very patiently going, where's my Bulge British book? It's going to be here soon. And then on top of that, all of the miniatures as well. So plenty of things for you to get stuck into and have fun with for the Bulge and World War II.
Yeah, well, it's that time of year. Everything gets colder and the Germans attempt to go back through the Ardennes. So
now's
a great time to stop it.
They'd never expect us to go through there again.
Exactly. 100%. So keep an eye out for more news on that as and when they come out. And I should also point out that all of the things that you just saw there are available to pre-order from store.ontabletop.com. So if you want to get your hands on those miniatures and those starter sets and all that kind of good stuff, you can get it from us. Yay.
Sweet to the beat. Right, we've one last piece of news from a little company that apparently is celebrating something.
Yeah, so something's old now. But yeah, in perfect Games Workshop timing, they couldn't have held this on a Wednesday or a Thursday, could they? No. They're going to be doing the 35th anniversary weekend for Warhammer 40,000 on Saturday. So tomorrow, when you're watching this, it's going to be at 2 p.m. BST. They're going to be doing a big live show celebrating 35 years of the old Warhammer 40,000. So if you want to dive in and find out what's coming up, maybe there's a new edition coming next year. There probably is a new edition coming next year. You can go check this out and see what's coming up. To celebrate that as well, they're also going to be doing a day of funness. So you'll be able to dive in and find out what else they're doing over on Warcom. But also they're going to be releasing this new miniature, which is Bayard's Revenge, based on a very cool piece of artwork from the old Black Templars Codex and Space Marine Codex back in the day, which shows off a Emperor's Champion nailing an orc to the ground. It's Orktober, but apparently Games Workshop has forgotten and is just killing them all. So there we go.
What? A month for the Xenos? No.
How could this happen?
It's the way to do it. I mean, nobody said they had to be alive orcs.
Exactly.
They just had to be featured orcs.
Yeah.
A fun new little diorama vignette piece for you to pick up and add into your Black Templar armies. Looking very cool indeed. Use that in your Black Templar forces. Maybe, there's still a lot of boxes sitting around of that old army set probably somewhere in someone's store that nobody wanted. So if you're interested in starting the Black Templars, make sure to go and pick those up and have some fun with that. As I say, they're probably going to be announcing some really fun stuff. So we'll talk about it next weekend because we're on the pulse. There we go.
I do want that orc before he got stabbed as a miniature.
He is very cool. It looks like a sort of standard knob. So you'll probably be able to play around with him a little bit.
Yeah. I'm a little bit disappointed, it has to be said.
Oh, yes.
So 35 years. Mm-hmm. There's the preview screen. Where is the original 40K cover there?
That would have been a good idea, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
In the back of
some of the old miniatures or something.
Yeah.
There's one bit of old artwork on that, you can see like half of it.
Yeah, but that's the Ultramarine Codex from 2nd edition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Everything else there is a box front, more or less, I think. So why not have the Rogue Trader? The first, you're celebrating 35 years since it was released. Put it on the preview screen at least.
Do you really expect them to
remember where you came from? Oh yeah, no, they have.
I will say that,
but that's because the designer doing it isn't 35 years old.
Well, that's probably it.
Or doesn't know it exists. It's like we've been running for 35 years. We need some art, old art. All right, well, here's stuff from 6 months ago. That's old.
I will say that if you are interested in kind of that rogue tradery vibes, they have done a series of videos over the last week painting up like Crimson Fists and Orks in the old rogue trader schemes. And also on Warhammer Plus, this week's battle report was a rogue trader themed battle at the farm. So it was the proper Rin's World clash between the Crimson Fists and the Orcs, and they had them looking for jewels on the table.
What'd you say there? Did you say Rimmerworld?
Yes,
Rimmerworld.
Rimmerworld for your knobs. There we go.
We don't talk about what happened to Rimsworld.
Oh, now I'm going to have the Rimmerworld thing stuck in my head. Turn your face away.
I will also say they do it in a really fun rogue trader fashion as well. So one of the presenters actually plays the GM as you would have done back in the day and sort of messes around with the game and throws some interesting spanners into the works and all that kind of stuff.
Couldn't they actually have just played Rogue Trader?
Yes, but Rogue Trader takes about 4 days to play.
No, you only think that because you've been listening to Liars. The Battle of the Farm was like 2 squads aside. It takes no longer than it's probably faster actually than the current edition.
Well, to be fair, there's no vehicles in it, so you don't have to use the vehicle rules and the targeting sheet and everything. So.
If you ever feel like playing Battle for the Farm, Fugu models do the Battle of the Farm set and rest.
They do actually,
which gives you all of the pieces that the original battle report had for the terrain for the backdrop. So it's a really nice set. Anyway, I think that's enough news. We don't want to have too much news. Feels like all the news.
Well, you've got to wait till next week for all the news.
All the news. Right. Yeah. We shall take a quick swish and return to wrap up the show. All right, we are back to take a look at some 3D printing. And since Ben had already picked the 3D print for the end of the week, we're going to be revisiting it, but not looking at the rules, looking at the miniatures.
Yeah, exactly. So Mr. Modulork started out creating a whole bunch of awesome miniatures. And so that's what we're going to be diving into right now. So over on my mini factory and a bunch of other places, you're able to pick up a bunch of very cool orc bits for you to use in creating your various warbands for Modulorka, obviously, but also just generally for use in games like Warhammer 40,000 or Grimdark Future, whichever way you want to go. A lot of the designs are very much sort of akin to the look of the Games Workshop ones, but they've also got lots of vibes from a lot of the Kromlech range and Max Mini and Puppet Wars and all that kind of stuff as well, which is really nice to see. But then there's lots of really nice little unique touches here and there as well, which I think is quite fun. You especially see that, I think, in things like these like vehicle crews. I think they're very good. Yeah. Yes, proper hillbilly style. And how does he reach the floor? That's what I want.
Well, I imagine
he has a friend.
Just like Short Round. Yeah. He's going to have blocks tied to his feet.
Yeah. Or like every other greenskin, he wills it to work. Maybe there's another goblin.
Yeah, he has a friend down there and it's just like, faster.
Yeah. But you'll notice that a lot of the characters that you're seeing here, all of the different miniatures, are tied to the colours and themes of the warbands that we saw in the rules during the Indie of the Week section. So if you're looking to pick up specific miniatures to work within the game with the various weapons and that kind of stuff, they've basically taken a lot of the render work and used those on the card art, enabling you to kind of mix and match and use them as you see fit. The other thing that's really nice about what they've done is that Modulork tends to err on the side of modularity, as you might have imagined by the name. So a lot of the orcs that you'll get in terms of the sort of standard kits will come with ways for you to alter their weapon loadouts and that kind of stuff as well. So if you're looking to create some very unique war gangs of boys to use in your games, you can do that. If you want to see what happens if Tony Stark was an orc, then you've got that option as well.
Tony Stork?
Tony Stork. Oh my God. So you've got some very cool options there for you to play with character-wise and all that kind of stuff, especially if you're looking to kind of make really unique squad leaders and stuff. I think using some of these miniatures to kind of, break up the kind of squads that you normally have in games of 40k would be really fun. So you could use these to lead various units and give them a little bit more of a theme, which I think is always nice to see.
Oh, go back. I like the way
Sorry?
I like the way his claw and what is that?
There's a little bit of smoke, I think, coming out of a gun in the middle of it.
Oh, that's really cool.
Well, that's my interpretation. It may or may not be that. I like the fact that they're wearing hard hats.
Yeah.
Which means any of them who are wearing tops need to be in high-vis fluoro orange.
Yeah. We might be orcs, but we've got to adhere to health and safety. So
safety first. What if we have a war, they close it down because it's not safe?
Well, I guarantee you that's one weird boy.
Yeah.
They're like a recycling crew.
Yeah.
Going to recycle you.
Use your bits for something else. Yeah. But it's a really nice section of different things. As I say, they kind of hit the nail on the head when it comes to kind of like your standard orcs, if you can have such a thing, as well as looking at things like trying to tie releases into elements like the beast snaggers. And if you're trying to make sort of more sort of classic sort of clan-based warbands based around the freebooters and all that kind of stuff, you can
rebel grots.
Yeah. As my friend was pointing out, it's a real shame that there's no longer the kind of grot revolution stuff in the orc army books and things. But you can obviously make it and kind of theme things around it. I had a go at building a 1,000 point grot-based army on the app recently. It was 60 grots in the end. Plus 3 killer cans, a shotgun, and some runt herders and a leader and stuff. So
it's not the Grot Liberation Front then.
It's not the full-on Grot Liberation Front, no. So you've not got the red gobbo leading the way, unfortunately. But yeah,
he's trapped in a world full of nothing but orcs.
Yeah, wouldn't want him anyway, or he's a splitter.
Oh dear. But as you can see, some fun little options here and there for making orcs in various different ways and building them up to create fun and interesting warbands. Which I think is
this Squig Rider is flipping cool.
Yeah,
I love the way he's just showing off how rich he is, because instead of bullets in the bandolier, it's teeth.
Yes.
He's not the coolest though, because the coolest is bad to the bone.
Amazing.
Oh,
Amazing. Yeah. I love that his base is just all casing.
Yeah. Foot on brass.
Yes.
Something we can get behind.
Yeah.
I swear I did not leave anyone alive.
Yeah. It kind of the thing is I really like about Orks is that I think they're the fun option when it comes to diving into playing like sci-fi games, like grimdark sci-fi games, because you can have so much fun with them, building them up in different ways and creating different themed forces. And everything is an orc kit, as we often say. Like anything can be taken and turned into something orky with enough explosives.
I love that one. I absolutely love that one.
That is very cool.
I will forever think of these as the things from Teddy Ruxpin, mind you.
Are squigs growing?
Yes. They are all fungoids.
In much the same way as
snotlings.
As snotlings and orcs. Everything is fungus in the orky world.
Everything is fungus.
Everything is fungus.
So you can't train them to work for anybody else.
I think some Imperials have tried with...
They used to be part of the Tyrannid list.
Did they? I didn't realize that. Oh.
Yeah,
used to get squig swarms in that as well.
I think some Adeptus Mechanicus have tried to do it, and it just, hasn't went well.
He's very weird boy-esque styling of, who'd you call him?
Yeah, but even his stabbing thing has to have a small engine on it.
Yeah, well, it's how the world works. I can never remember his name because I never played the Horde because I had taste.
Gul'dan.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I've sent you a link in Discord as well, Jerry, just to open up as well, because all of this stuff is available, obviously, 3D printers, you can see here. But if you are interested in actually picking up the models physically, you can buy them. So this is a My Mini Factory sort of subsidiary company. They'll print them for you, so you can get them, as you see, in lovely 3D printed resin.
I love the squigs with the helmets on.
Yes, they are very cool. And that's actually a piece of kit you can give your squigs in Modulorka as well, which is nice. So obviously the
sizes.
Yeah, so there's like normal boy size and then like elite hero size, which I think is really fun.
No.
So obviously the prices are a little bit bigger, but that's because obviously they need to print them themselves, and then they give a cut to the creators as well. So
then they have postage, packing, salary.
Exactly. Yeah. So
do they sell grot heads?
I don't know if the grot heads come separately. I think it's just grots, but
I think there were. Maybe I imagine that.
Grot heads, no.
You could always just cut the heads off the grots if you really.
Because the guys down in the.
Oh no, they do. They do. The grot heads do come separately.
Because the guys don't. Well, not as a kit though. Because the guys down in the gaming club were talking about sticking grot heads onto Votan bodies.
Right. Someone did that.
Grots.
That would be cool. Yeah.
Different.
Yeah.
Certainly. Yeah.
But you've got some nice options there if you want to go down the digital route, or if you want to get them physically.
Actually, get the miniatures.
I should also point out as well that there is a Mr Modulork Kickstarter coming soon, which is all STL based. So this will give you new starter packs for both the Horde and the Hunters. So if you are looking to play Modulorka, this will give you everything you need to play as those two factions with all the gubbins and everything as well. So.
It looks like it's all Orks again. What a surprise.
Who would have thought it? It's almost like Mr. Modulork likes his green screen.
It's a brave new world. That's what they tell me. Right. So, having been teased with a Kickstarter that's upcoming, shall we finish off the show with a couple of Kickstarters that are here right now?
Did you win one of our prizes? Find out on our prize claim center over at OnTableTop.com. Here we list all our previous prizes and those who have won. If you see your username, fill out the form to claim your prize. All prizes must be claimed within 30 days.
We have a pair, little compact and bijou, tiny little Kickstarters. So first off is Trailer Park, Warlords of the Apocalypse. This is from Bad Goblin Games. It's an interesting little Kickstarter because it's for a new rule set for post-apocalyptic warfare, where you play out your warlord of the apocalypse in a trailer park. These are not your usual 100 caravan trailer parks, though, in a Judge Dredd style. These are mega trailer parks because after the apocalypse, people have rolled forward, and when they came crawling out of their caves and stuff, obviously having your hands on a bunch of wheeled vehicles were the best way to go. And then people just sort of, families met other families, and over time, these trailer parks sort of grew and became permanent features. So you've got
So something like in Ready Player One.
I've never read it.
With the caravans stacked on top of each other, I think.
Sure, that's it. So the idea behind it is there is like a gang fight Necromunda style game where you have your warlord of the apocalypse and his group of ne'er-do-wells attempting to do whatever it happens to be that your warlord wants, like all the toilet paper, or maybe that massive box of Twinkies, or just carving out more land, whatever it happens to be.
Or maybe a piece of tech that you actually need to make clean water, because,
it's a wheelbarrow.
Oh, yeah. There are some named gangs like these, the Fellowship of the Tin Star, the Bubbas. I quite like the Bubbas, currently led by Bubba the Sixth, although nobody knows if he's actually the sixth Bubba because nobody in the future can really count. Certainly not the Bubbas anyway. So there are different, I suppose, ways that you can build your gang. You can build a specific thing like the Bubbers or like the Fellowship of the Tin Star, who are a bit more sort of martial and trying to bring a bit of law and order together. Or you can kind of mix and match, because the apocalypse for Trailer Park isn't just something that's happened, today. The apocalypse happens today, and then people are picking up their bits and pieces after the fallout with whatever tech level we have. Instead, there's been a period of several hundred years of humanity working together and going to the stars and getting into robotics and AI, genetic adaptation and stuff. So
vending machine.
So when when you come to build your troops, your gangs for the Warlords game, you can be things like the Awakened, which are animals that have,
I love them,
that have become, been genetically manipulated, and then over time have become their own races. So, if you want a squirrel with a minigun, you can have that.
There's a chicken with a rocket.
There's a chicken with a rocket.
What's not like about that?
But you need a squirrel with a rocket launcher.
But then you can also get your hands on, things like AI that maybe have joined this is the Liberation Front for the robots and androids. And so, sentient vending machines with guns on them, or
I like the
monsters.
vending machine. I just think it's going to fire cans of Coke at people.
Yeah, which is a great way to go. There's roadkill. They're the Awakened. So your deers and chickens and stuff. Also, plants mutations and adaptations have given rise to, or possibly even alien, have given rise to actual plant-based things that are kicking around as well. So while the Kickstarter is there to get the game going, they've also had a load of these models sculpted, which will be available as both STLs and, if they get the funding, SEO casts, so actual physical models as well.
I do love that the stag is carrying a hunting rifle.
Well, it's payback time from the old staggy stag. But the game itself is very intriguing, because you've got a really lot of flexibility when it comes to the build, because you can obviously choose to have a mixture of humans and robots and cyborgs and walking trees and squirrels with machine guns. But then you also have the various types of cards, metamorphoses, mutations, and they're not always beneficial. So just because you have additional things that help you out, they may be detrimental. So you can't just go through and sort of cherry pick going, I want 3 legs because it gives me +1 speed, and then I want this because it'll give me armored, body, blah, blah, blah. You'll find that having the 3 legs means that, you can't shit.
Well,
the leg has to go somewhere.
The third leg might be coming out top of your head.
Yeah, also that. So they've been working on this for a little while now. They've already got a game called Ages of Conflict, and the gaming group that has put this together includes people like Damien and Edgar, who wrote Blood and Steel for Firelock Games. So they're part of their gaming club. So they've had some input in here as well. So they've got like a handy little set of videos up on the website where you can see what you need to play out the game and how you can play it out. And obviously you can go as mad into your post-apocalyptic terrain as you want. even though it's based around these trailer parks and they tend to have a lot of vehicles in them, you don't have to build it that way. So you're not tied to going, well, I'm going to need 1 million RVs and that sort of thing, motorhomes to stick around, just because they happen to have wheeled up beside something and then built out their little corner of the world. Could be built on the ruins of a city, could be built in the middle of nowhere. Maybe they want to get back to nature and they thought nobody would touch them if they were out in a green field by some sort of slightly radioactive lake. So you can go nuts with that. But yeah, it's a really interesting game. Good, solid system behind it with a really it uses a similar system to Blood and Steel, actually, for their initiative. So you have a bidding mechanic.
That was the bit that really caught my eye. Yeah,
you activate model about, but then you're rolling dice at the start, and then you're bidding with those dice. So you may bid high and then just find that you've been matched or beaten with your opponent's highest roll. So you're constantly having to think about how you want to activate the troops on the tabletop, because you're dealing with such a small amount and there's a lot going on. Going in too hard too soon could find yourself sort of at a detriment later on. But yeah, I like the depth. I'm a big fan of depth. I tend to go to the extremes. When I'm playing big mass battles, I like simplicity so that you can actually get into the game. But with skirmish games, I think having the additional detail and layers and like you were saying for Morcula earlier, having the different status effects, similar sort of thing here, because you're not having to deal with 60 player or 60 models aside. You're not going, well, that's going to be too much to keep track of. You're 8 to 10 models in a little warband. You can go in there and go, okay, well, these guys are tooled up in this way. They've got these sort of various adaptations. And then when the game starts playing out, you're going, okay, well, he's been knocked down, or he's knocked out or wounded, or he's now, dragging a leg around. So you've like a little
log. Still has to.
Yeah.
He still has to.
That's why you should always take a third. You just
the thing that I really liked about it was that it was approaching the post-apocalyptic side of things from a different aesthetic angle as well. Because a lot of the time you'll see post-apocalyptic stuff, and it's all grand if it's all kind of like Mad Maxian and that kind of stuff, or Fallout-y and stuff. Yeah. But I really like that they went down that, and they even talk about this, that it's got kind of like a Gamma World vibe, which is the kind of D&D spin-off from a while ago that, well, still exists actually as well, I guess. There was very much like a mishmash of all sorts of different things that came together. Like, for example, talking of Gamma World and the ideas and the aesthetics, I played a living statue from a bathroom company, to give you an idea of the kind of things that you could do and stuff. And that, I love that they've got those vibes going through. My name was Mo Ben, because that's what I'd read on the front of a toiletry thing.
I think the only thing I really want from this Kickstarter is maybe to see a bit more of the art.
Well, that's what they're hoping to get the funding through as well, which is the thing. So they are working obviously at the moment, but I think once the funding comes through for it, they'll be able to spend a little bit more of their money on artwork and design and that kind of stuff as well. Because as Jerry was saying, like the core of the mechanics is there. Like the basics of the game is really fun. And after watching through those videos, I was like, well, I know how to play now. So,
they're approaching a Kickstarter from a weird point of view of needing a Kickstarter to produce an end product. Here's our idea. Wow. This is what we've done. And Kickstarter, as a crowdfunding campaign, we need you to help realize it to its fullest extent.
Has nobody told them that's not how Kickstarter works?
No. These days it's just a pre-order for Cool Mini or not.
It's
just
insanity.
A website for marking off paint jobs.
Never catch on. Sorry, boys.
But yeah, so there we have it. The Trailer Park Warlords of the Apocalypse. A cracking game and some really interesting miniatures as well. So, if you're after STLs or actual physical things, assuming they get their funding in, it'll be interesting to see. The Awakened are really nice. Yeah.
There's also a Facebook group that you can go and check out, which I'll put in the links down below, so you can go and join them and discuss the game and all that kind of stuff as well. So because they're very, very active in there in talking about bringing the game to life. So yeah. Very fun.
Cracking stuff. And our final Kickstarter is another little small one. This is a little teeny tiny one from Ragnarok Miniatures. So Colin Patton has decided to do, he's called it Fields of Battle for Ragnarok 4. And this came about because he was working on some Saga fatigue markers and thought, actually,
why did I sell these?
So It's a very small Kickstarter. I believe there's only one pledge level in it, which is just buy the
miniatures.
So it's a set of 16 casualty markers plus 2 sets of 16 other markers that could be used for anything. If you're not playing Saga, you can use them for fatigue or shaken or disorder. So there's a set of crows and a set of helmets. I've actually got bigger pictures of them here because they're really nice. So it's very simple. It's mostly Viking-looking fellows, although there's a bit of an Anglo-Saxon sort of feel to a few of them as well. 8 are dead. 8 are wounded in some terrible way with, arrows in.
I would totally go for the wounded ones because I would sneak them in as
actual figures,
as a marker. But then when I count my miniatures for an attack, I count them.
Oh, you count them.
I call shenanigans.
Are your big dice not enough?
These guys, you couldn't count them. They're obviously dead. But those other ones,
those other ones.
Oh no, clearly they're alive, Lloyd. They'll go after your ankles.
But the human figures, if we'll call them that, and I will. So you get 16 of them, like I say, 8 dead, 8 wounded in a variety of poses. They also come with separate shields and then 16 random weapons, so axes, swords and stuff. So, you can vary them up a bit, throw them around in various places to show how they're looking. If you play like a mass battle style of game, so like your L'Art de la Guerre's, Hail Caesars, whatever it happens to be in your multi-basing, you can also put the occasional casualty into the middle of a massed rank. So you have your nice shield wall and then maybe one guy with the arrow sticking in him and maybe a dead fellow behind.
That'd be cool.
To change it up a bit and give a bit more realism. I really like the fact he's done a little flag as well.
Oh, that's
look
nice.
Look at the stitching on that.
Is it actually cloth? That's cool.
Yeah, that's Colin for you. He's I won't rig a ship. I might rig a flag.
It's underrated.
Yeah. But the figures themselves are stunning. He is actually working on a full Viking army in this style. That may be a Kickstarter next year, or I'm not sure how he's planning on doing it. But if you're after sort of a range of Vikings, then it's a way to go. However, he has sculpted ranges for people in the past.
Oh, Vikings though.
He did. He sold them to Warlord Games. So if you go to Warlord Games website, that's the old Saxon miniature range. He currently has a range of fantasy stuff, so he's got dwarves, elves, and Draugr, so the undead.
I think he has some Vikings, because I was looking at his site the other day, and he has Berserkers.
He has like Valhalla-based like Vikings.
Yeah, around Starkers.
Yeah, there's a small number of them, but he already has, I think, Gripping Beast he started with as well. So Gripping Beast certainly have Vikings. Warlord definitely have his Saxon miniatures range that will all match these, and then he's doing a new range for himself. There's plenty of figures where you can just go, well, these match almost perfectly. I've got a Saga force based on his Vikings, actually,
which is sweet because I really like the look of the ones that the Warlord have now. Was it the Saxon miniature range?
Saxon miniature range, yeah. So these blend in perfectly, have the same style of sculpting. And then there's also a little set of helmets, which is a variety of helms based on, I think, 4 or 5 different helms that have been found in various places. So again, could be used for base dressing, could use them as little markers for certain games. Feast of Crows or Battle Ravens and things like that. If you just want to change up instead of using the cardboard markers, and again, either fatigue markers for your range of ravens / crows, or I think some of these should really be sitting on top of some of the dead fellas, pecking at their eyes.
I think that would work very well. Yeah,
why would you not? Here's a crow. Here's a dead fella. I want them pecking at his eyes in full crowy fury. And it's just a very simple little set of Viking miniatures and accoutrements, perfect for your games of Saga or any other game that uses sort of Vikings and fatigue and casualty markers. There are plenty of them out there. You need to mark your disorder for lying rampant, because the second edition lets you go back to the Viking Age quite easily. Then it's a great way of doing it.
I like the fact that we used Saga for an example, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, you would. To be fair, he used Saga for an example first. And that's why they exist.
So get that on a t-shirt for you.
And if you're playing the game at home, you're probably now passed out from alcohol.
That's it.
Right. I think that wraps us up for another week. We will be back with you on Sunday morning for our XLBS, where we'll be wittering about some hobby time in the gentle meandering of our Cult of Games. If you're not a Cult of Games member, you can come over to OnTableTop.com and sign up for a 30-day trial. Buy merch. Otherwise, we shall return next week for more of the same on Friday night. Until then, have a great week of gaming. Bye-bye.
Go ahead and check out our other content on screen now. And while you're at it, why not hit subscribe and remember to ding our dong. Go on, you know you want to click it. Go on.